Tea family, my name is Jessica and I'm going to be taking over your Instagram today. I have been living in South Korea for over 3 years now and it's been great. I really enjoy it here. I was in Anseong, Gyeonggi-do, which is about an hour and a half south of Seoul for my first 3 years. And now I live in Seoul. I just moved here a couple months ago. So still working through the transition. But I've been to Seoul a lot since I started in Korea, so it's certainly not difficult to get around here. So I'm gonna just go over different things that I think you guys want to know. I'm gonna first put a thing here so you guys can ask me questions, and then we'll see how that goes. So make sure you ask me some questions. I will have to answer them. I do have quite a wide range of I got sponsored and they did help with housing, so my next video is going to tell you a little bit about that. Actually, after I show you my rooftop. So I decided to take you guys on a little trip to my rooftop. Well, actually the building's rooftop, so it's not like my personal. Unfortunately there's no sitting up here, but I love it up here. This is my view. I'll show you the other side. But one of the routes I can actually take to work is there is a bike path down here. So I can walk or bike to work. Walking takes about an hour. Biking about 20 minutes. Welcome to my rooftop. This is called Yangdingpo area. It might be a little loud because there's a fan thing next to me, but it's pretty nice. I wish I had this view in my apartment. Ooh, but it's okay. So someone asked about school. So let me give you a basic rundown of how schools work in Korea. There are two main routes that people go, is Hagwon or public school. Hagwon is private academy. Both schools almost always will sponsor your visa. If they're not going to, it's a little fishy, and they would provide housing. If they don't, then they usually give you more money, but I really highly recommend doing that, because the way housing works here is if you want to get your own housing, you have to pay about a $10,000 US deposit, and then you pay a tiny bit each month versus like a larger monthly. So it is quite difficult, along with language barriers, to try and get a place on your own. So like with anything, there's pros and cons to both private schools and public schools. And I actually find private schools get a bad rap, but I prefer private for a few reasons. And it's going to be based on your personal preferences. For me, I don't want a person in the room with me when I teach. I want to know exactly where I'm going to be going and things like that. I will probably put a post on my actual personal YouTube channel very soon about more of the pros and cons, but you need to figure out what's important to you and then determine which kind of school you want to go to. The biggest thing is going to be just making sure you're doing your research. If you're going Hagwon route, especially, to make sure you're asking questions, talking to current school teachers, and just being cautious, because there are a lot of shady ones. But I've heard bad stories about public school too, so but it's not all bad. Now I'm gonna go ahead and start making my route to school. I haven't got a bike yet, so I don't take the bike rack, which would be the quickest route. So I gotta get a bike soon. I didn't need one in Anseong. But there's a few other routes to get to school. I can take a subway and then a bus. Unfortunately, my school is kind of a little more difficult to get to. At my old school, I took like a 10-minute bus, and it was really convenient. This school, I have to take either 2 buses, the subway and the bus, or I can take a taxi, which is pretty easy. So yeah, I'm heading to the bus station now, and I'll answer some of your questions. It can definitely be a little difficult at first, and it really depends on which route you're going and your school. If you're public school, you do have like a 2-week training. If you're private, you might have training, or you might get thrown in. So my last Hagwon, I had 1 day, not even 1 day. I started teaching my first day and was not expecting it. This Hagwon, I did have some training, and so that made it definitely a little easier. So it is very dependent on your school. So yeah. Korea in fall is so pretty, and there are so many places, not just in Seoul, to go and check out some of the beautiful fall foliage and flowers and pink muley grass. I love this little thing on my route. So in Korea, they are really good about manicuring stuff and having parks. And look, there's like a rose garden. It's so pretty. And this cool building. So for getting around, there's buses everywhere. Metro in a lot of places, and trains, and I like those. There are express buses that can take you to different cities, and just regular inner city buses that can take you to different cities. You have your GU buses that are for your specific area, and then buses that take you elsewhere. And all you really need is a T-Money card. Sorry, that's one of the buses. And with a T-Money card or cash fee card, you can use that on buses, subway, and even on taxi. So here's my bus stop. Oh, you can't see that in the thing. There's a thing over here that tells you like where the buses go. It is in Korean. Sometimes they have some English on it. And then this you can't see, but it says the bus and the time until it comes. Seoul is so much busier than my little town in Ansung where I used to live. But anyways, so subways will have English on the signs and stuff that tell you where you're going. And more popular buses will have the English too. But in general, I do highly recommend at least learning how to read the Korean alphabet, which is actually the easiest thing is the alphabet. And it only takes you about 2 hours, usually. So try to learn, I recommend. You do not actually need to know Korean to live in Korea and get around Korea pretty easily. But I do highly recommend learning it. That Koreans tend to be much more appreciative when you actually make an attempt, at least with little things. I recommend learning the alphabet so you can know what you're eating and stuff like that and start to understand. And that's one of the biggest reasons I actually highly recommend not coming to Seoul when you come first. People come to Seoul and they get complacent and they don't try. And I have a lot of Korean friends and they're often, frustrated that so many Westerners will come and they won't even attempt to learn the language. So while it's definitely not something you need to do, I would try. It's not too bad. A lot of it's difficult, but if you at least try, you'll be surprised how much more you get out of it. People are more respectful, they help you more, and a lot of times I get free food, especially at restaurants. So I just got off my bus. My bus stop's right there to make my transfer. But I have about 9 minutes before my bus gets here, and I love this park. It's so pretty and so big. And one of the fun things about living in Korea is they're very exercise focused. But most parks will have these kind of exercise equipment that are free to use. So if you don't mind exercising in public, it's really cheap to kind of stay healthy here. So this is also really dependent on what school route you take. My old hagwon was 1 to 7:30. My new hagwon is 9 to 6. So public schools are generally about 9 to 4:30ish, 5. My afternoon hagwon was 1 to 7:30, but that's kind of unusual. It was really nice and chill and laid back, and I really miss it. But it was getting hard with coronavirus to be in a small town. At first it was fine, but a lot of people that I had grown close to had moved away. So it was a little difficult, but still I really like living in a small town, and I think it has a lot of benefits. And my current hagwon is a morning hagwon. So afternoon hagwons are often 2 to 10 or 1 to 9. And morning hagwons have kindergarten in the morning, so they're usually 9 to 6, 9 to 6:30. So yeah. Once I get to school, I'll kind of show you. But in the morning, I teach kindergarten from 9:50 to 1. And then in the afternoon, I teach elementary students. Afternoon hagwons are going to be elementary and middle school. So I taught elementary most of my day and then middle school towards the evening. Now my classes run about 40, well, mine took about 40 minutes. And at my old class, I went about 50 minutes, my old hagwon. And you have a little break in between. And then, so you're not teaching the whole time. And you'll also likely have periods when you don't have a class at all. But my bus is about to get here, so I'll talk to you all when I get to school. I do speak Korean, probably a level 3 out of 6. It's not great, but I get by. I used it with my old hagwon kids, but it depends on the school. Most hagwons say, or most schools say, no Korean in class. Needed a little snack, so I came to 7-Eleven. They got tons of stuff. I got myself a triangle kimbap and some orange juice. But they got tons of snacks. There, I will say most of their like chips and stuff are pretty sweet. But they have also lunch boxes and different snacks, and most of it is pretty cheap. Way better than anything in America at a convenience store. One of the other options for snacks underneath my school is a Paris baguette, which is not my favorite place, but they have lots of sandwiches and stuff. Yummy. This is one of my classrooms. There's rules and stuff on the board, weather and stuff like that. Most of the classrooms look like this one. And we have a projector. In my last school, I had my own classroom that I stayed in all day, and that's where I did all my work. But at this school, I switch around all day, which is not totally bad. So I am going up to the teacher's room now, so you guys can kind of see that. Teacher's room. The first one here. My desk is a little messy, but this is where we kind of just do all our work and prepare for our classes. There's my desk. So I'm going to go ahead and get started preparing for my classes. Today is Wednesday, so I also have art class today. I can't show you guys my classes, but I got about 50 minutes to prepare and have my snack, and I will talk to you guys after work probably, because it gets a little busy, and today I have art class, so I don't have a long break. Maybe I'll talk to you in my break. And then I'm visiting a friend after school, but once I get home, then I'll show you my apartment. Okay? Talk to you soon. Hey again. So I am on my 40-minute break in between my afternoon, and I finished my kindergarten this morning. We had lunch. They feed us here because a lot of morning kindergartens you get food, and I am just out on the rooftop. I am chilling. I have work to do that I sometimes do. Otherwise I just kind of enjoy the rooftop, so I'll show you a couple views of that. In the subway, as you can tell, when you're going to the subway, it'll tell you up here which station you're at. This is the one it's going to next, and that's where it just came from. On the bottom, it'll tell you what car and number, and that helps when transferring. And then there's things everywhere that says what's approaching, what's coming. And there's maps like these on poles, or at least on some of the doors, that'll tell you you're at this station and the car is going that way. And it has Korean and English and Chinese or Japanese. And it'll tell you where you can transfer. So if you need to transfer a different line, where you can transfer. Station, you have signs up above that'll tell you which direction to go for exits. And that's how you swipe in. And then you have signs that'll say which line you're at. So that's the line 4 and the line 1, and which stations they go to. And then there's always money machines or ticket machines out here that you can use. They have English options. So like, oh, I need a ticket to some certain station, and you buy exactly how much you need. And then after you're done, you can get a deposit back, like 50 cents, I think, for the little card. But you only need T-money. Been a long day, but I'm finally home. Outside in front of my apartment, so I'll kind of show you that. So here's my apartment. A little tip is, if it starts to sing, it's going low, but there's these 2 buttons up here. That's for a D battery. So if you ever get locked out of your apartment, you can use a D battery here to open this and change the battery. Here's my kitchen, my laundry, my cooking, my microwave, cooking stuff. I opened this already, but this is the pantry in the big storage closet where I dry my clothes, because there's usually not dryers in Korea. A desk that also has a desk that pulls out this way underneath. Secret storage. My view. Bookcase. This is where you'll find heating. Usually you have to turn hot water on. My apartment, not so much. Fridge and rice cooker that a neighbor gave me. And my bathroom, which is a combined thing, which is actually really convenient for cleaning. And that's all. Thank you for joining my tour. I'll continue to be available if you want a message, and I'll respond. Otherwise, check my Instagram out and check my YouTube out, where I'm going to be posting more and more videos on helping y'all in Korea.